the Canada 5 cents coin. While this small denomination may seem unassuming, some rare and historic Canadian 5-cent coins can be worth huge money in today's market. In this video, we'll highlight the most expensive Canadian 5-cent coins and tell you what makes them so valuable, whether it's a unique minting era, a low mintage, or their incredible historical significance. First up, the Canada 5 cents nickel from 1961 holds a fascinating position in the history of Canadian currency. As with many coins from the 20th century, the 1961 nickel carries not only the weight of historical significance, but also certain features that make it a must-have for collectors. Today, we're going to explore the 1961 large-date 5-cent piece, particularly the very fine condition coin, which has garnered a huge market value in recent auctions. In 1961, Canada was transitioning through a period of economic change. The country's economy was undergoing shifts due to both domestic and international pressures. The 1961 nickel was minted during a time when Canada was still using the classic nickel-based coinage system, which had been in use since the Royal Canadian Mint began minting coins in 1908. The Canadian nickel itself is made from 75 nickel and 25 copper, a composition that was consistent throughout much of the 20th century. The year 1961 was pivotal in Canadian history as it saw the country's relationship with Great Britain transitioning further towards an independent nation. This coin, along with other pieces minted during the early 1960s, carries the history of that. The obverse of the coin features the iconic portrait of Queen Elizabeth I, designed by the renowned sculptor Mary Gillick. Gillick's design became the standard effigy of the Queen on Canadian coins until 1989. This image is simple yet timeless, capturing the Queen in her youth with a tiara atop her head. On the reverse of the coin, we see the famous beaver design, which has been a long-standing symbol of Canada's natural resources and trade history. The beaver is facing forward with its tail prominently displayed, and the design includes the legend Canada and the denomination 5 cents around the edges. This reverse was designed by renowned engraver and artist Emmanuel Hahn. In 1961, the large date variation of this coin was produced, which is different from the standard smaller date. The difference is in the size of the numerals used for the year 1961, with the large date variety being more prominent and easily noticeable to the naked eye. This design feature is one of the key reasons the 1961 large date is highly valued by collectors today. The total mintage of the 1961 5-cent coin was approximately 92 million. While this number might seem large by today's standards, the specific large date variety is rarer and harder to find in excellent condition. Many of these coins were circulated heavily, and only a fraction of them remain in great condition, making those in very fine condition especially valuable. The 1961 large date nickel is a favorite among collectors because, despite its relatively high mintage, its availability in excellent grades is limited. In fact, finding this coin in very fine or better condition is increasingly rare, adding to its demand in the auction market. The value of a 1961 Canada 5-cent nickel in very fine condition has seen significant growth in recent years. At the time of writing, it's not uncommon for these coins to fetch anywhere from $33,000 in the auction market, depending on the overall quality and demand. Coins in higher grades, such as extra fine or uncirculated, can command values much higher. The Canadian nickel market, particularly for these vintage pieces, has witnessed a surge due to increased interest in collecting coins that showcase Canada's rich history and its transition to modern coinage. While the 1961 nickel is generally considered a standard issue coin, there are a few subtle variations that collectors closely examine. For example, there are known cases of the coin with slight die errors, including small strikes or double strikes, which can increase the value of the coin. These error coins are particularly sought after by collectors who specialize in misprints and minting errors.
The most notable error in the 1961 nickel series is the off-center strike, which occurs when the planche-tan-nettle disc the coin is struck on is improperly aligned during the minting process. This error can make a coin even more valuable to collectors who focus on rare minting flaws.
In conclusion, the 1961 large-date 5-cent coin is an essential piece for any serious Canadian coin collector. With its historical significance, unique design, and increased rarity in top condition, it continues to grow in value in the auction market. If you happen to own one of these coins in very fine condition, you may want to consider getting it appraised, as it's only going to increase in worth as time goes on.
Next up, the Canada 5 cents nickel from 1994. While you might not think of a dirty condition coin as being particularly valuable, the market for modern coins is always evolving, and certain pieces, like the 1994 large-date nickel, have taken collectors by surprise in recent years.
In 1994, Canada was in the midst of a period of economic stability and growth. The 1990s marked a decade of significant technological advancement, and Canada's coinage was reflective of these changes. The 1994 nickel, unlike its 1961 counterpart, was part of the modern era of Canadian minting, which saw the introduction of more advanced techniques in coin production. The 1994 coin is a significant part of the Canadian numismatic scene because it marks a period of modernization, especially in terms of how coins were produced and used in circulation. While the 1961 coin reflected a Canada still solidifying its independence, the 1994 nickel was a representation of the contemporary Canadian spirit. The obverse of the 1994 5-cent nickel features a more contemporary portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, created by Canadian artist Dora de Pederi Hunt. This effigy, which replaced the earlier Mary Gillick design in 1990, shows the Queen in a more modern light, reflecting her status in the late 20th century.
On the reverse, the beaver design by Emmanuel Hahn still holds prominence. It has remained largely unchanged since its introduction in 1937, symbolizing Canada's rich fur trade history. This continuity in design is important because it helps maintain the cultural connection between past and present, making the 1994 nickel an essential part of the country's numismatic tradition. In 1994, approximately 180 million 5-cent coins were minted. The large date variety of this coin was part of a small subset produced that year, with a slightly larger 1994 date than the regular version. Though the difference is subtle, it is enough to make the large date coins particularly sought after by collectors. The 1994 nickel has been one of the more commonly circulated Canadian coins, but because of its higher mintage, many of them ended up in less than ideal condition. This means that coins in dirty or heavily worn condition are far more prevalent than those in pristine form. Despite its dirty condition, the 1994 large date nickel can still hold significant value, especially if there's a known minting error or a collector specifically interested in coins from this era. Coins in dirty or circulated condition typically fetch a modest price, around $10,000, however. If the coin has been preserved well or possesses an error, the value can skyrocket. Collectors have a strong interest in any coins that are linked to the large date variety, making even the dirty coins a valuable piece of Canadian numismatic history. Though the 1994 nickel does not have as many error varieties as some other years, collectors remain on the lookout for specific types of damage or unusual minting features. A common error with these coins is off-center strikes, which can dramatically increase their value. Coins that display substantial misstrikes, die cracks, or double strikes are particularly.
There is also a growing interest in the dirty coins themselves. These coins often display a kind of patina or tarnish that is not easily replicable in newer coins, which adds a unique charm and historical character. Over time, coins with such characteristics can become more appealing to collectors.
To wrap up, while the 1994 Canada 5-cent nickel in dirty condition may not be as desirable as its pristine counterparts, it still holds substantial value for certain collectors. The historical significance of the large date, along with its minting error possibilities, makes this coin a solid investment for the future.
Next up, the 2009 Canada 5 cents nickel is part of a specific batch of coins that has become incredibly valuable in the coin collecting community. What makes this particular coin stand out is not just the year or the type of nickel, but the rare combination of its worn and dirty color condition on the front side, paired with its fine condition on the back. It's an unusual variation that makes it highly sought after by collectors. The Canadian 5 cents nickel has been in circulation since 1870, but the 2009 issue holds particular interest due to its unique design and composition. The 2009 nickel was minted during the time Canada was transitioning to a new set of coins featuring updated designs that would go on to represent significant cultural symbols of the country. In 2009, the mint issued these coins with the usual nickel-copper composition, and while they weren't part of a special limited run, certain examples, especially those in poor condition, have proven to be quite valuable today. However, the most significant aspect of this coin is its rarity in a condition like this. While most 2009 nickels were minted and circulated in large numbers, finding one in this dirty color and fine state on the reverse side is extremely difficult. The combination of dirt on the obverse and well-preserved details on the reverse is not something you'd find very often, which leads to its increased value in today's market. On the obverse of the 2009 Canadian 5-cent nickel, you'll find a portrait of Queen Elizabeth IE. This portrait was designed by Canadian artist Susanna Blunt and has been featured on Canadian coins since 2003. It's a realistic and highly detailed representation of the Queen, adding a timeless charm to the coin. On the reverse, we see the familiar image of the beaver, which has been the symbol of Canada's 5-cent nickel since 1937. The beaver is an iconic Canadian animal representing the fur trade that was essential to the country's history. The 2009 coin features a very detailed and lifelike depiction of the beaver, skillfully engraved to showcase the power and significance of this national symbol. What makes this coin even more intriguing is its condition. The front side's dirty color condition, which seems to stem from environmental exposure or improper handling, is what sets this coin apart. While this might seem like a negative at first glance, it's actually something collectors love. It adds a unique weathered aesthetic that makes it a rare find for collectors who enjoy coins with natural imperfections. Moreover, the fact that the back remains in fine condition enhances its value. Coins that exhibit such inconsistencies between the obverse and reverse sides are often seen as errors or anomalies, making them highly desirable on the secondary market. These sorts of irregularities are prized by collectors who want something that stands out in their collection. In today's auction market, the value of a 2009 Canadian 5-cent nickel with these specific conditions, dirty color on the front, fine condition on the back, can range significantly. As of now, coins in this category have been fetching upwards of $73,000, depending on the auction platform and the buyer's interest. Given its unique characteristics, some have even sold for more in specialized coin auctions. Next up, the 1968 Canadian 5-cent nickel is a coin that has become iconic for collectors. Known for its large date design, it holds significant value due to its historical importance and relative scarcity in high-grade conditions. Unlike other standard nickel coins, the 1968 version is highly collectible, especially in circulated conditions, as many of these coins were used extensively and are now harder to come by. The year 1968 is notable in Canadian history as it marked the last year for the use of certain design elements on Canadian coins before major changes in the country's coinage system. The 1968 5-cent nickel, which features a large date on the obverse, was minted in large quantities, but because it was in circulation for a long period, many of them became worn down and damaged, making high-quality versions quite rare. Interestingly, this particular coin was struck during a time when the Royal Canadian Mint was facing growing demand for coins to meet the needs of the nation's expanding economy. The mint used traditional nickel-copper alloys, and the coins were produced at an impressive rate to meet the demands of Canadian commerce. As with most Canadian nickels, the obverse of the 1968 coin features the effigy of Queen Elizabeth IE, designed by the artist Arnold Machine. This design, introduced in 1965, is famous for its detailed and lifelike rendering of the Queen's profile. On the reverse side, the coin features a beaver, a symbol that has been featured on Canadian nickels since 1937. The large date, which distinguishes this coin from other years, makes the 1968 coin particularly collectible. The date on the coin is spread out over a larger space, making it more pronounced and easier to read. This simple design change created a distinct variation that collectors are eager to add to their collections. While there aren't many major errors associated with the 1968 Canadian 5-cent nickel, the large date feature itself is enough to catch the eye of collectors. Because these coins were widely circulated, many were lost to time, making those in even moderately good condition rare. A well-preserved 1968 large date nickel, even in circulated condition, can fetch a respectable price in the market. Collectors are particularly drawn to this coin because of the historical significance of the year 1968. In addition to the large date, the coin represents the last years of the old Canadian coin designs before a new era of currency and the adoption of the current designs. In terms of market value, the 1968 Canada 5-cent nickel in circulated condition can range from $300,000 depending on the state of the coin and the demand from buyers. Higher-grade examples, particularly those with no visible signs of wear or discoloration, can push the price upwards toward $323,000. Next up, the 1970 Canada 5 cents nickel is part of the Canadian coin series that has captured the imagination of collectors over the years. The nickel, made from a blend of nickel and copper, was introduced as part of the ongoing effort by the Royal Canadian Mint to produce circulating coins for everyday use in Canada. The 1975-cent piece, often referred to as the A Beaver nickel due to its depiction of a beaver, holds a special place in Canadian numismatics because of the controversy surrounding the large date issue. This version of the coin became rare due to a variety of factors, including a lower-than-expected mintage and unusual minting errors. On the obverse side, the coin features a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, which was designed by Arnold Machine and was used on most Canadian coins from 1965 until 1989. The reverse side features the iconic image of a beaver, a national symbol of Canada, designed by Emmanuel Hahn. The beaver sits on a log, emphasizing the significance of the animal to the Canadian fur trade and its role in the development of the country. The coin also includes the inscription Canada and the denomination 5 cents clearly visible. One key feature of the 1970 nickel is the large date variety. The difference between the small date and the large date can be found in the size of the numerals. The large date version is more prominent, which makes it a key variety for collectors seeking rare and unique pieces from Canada. The mintage of the 1970 Canada 5-cent nickel with the large date is estimated to be low, making it one of the rarer coins of the series. In terms of market value, a well-preserved coin in very good condition can fetch anywhere from $50,000 depending on factors such as the clarity of the details and any additional minting errors that may be present. In the context of today's market, auction prices have been higher for well-preserved examples, especially those that come with verified certificates of authenticity. For collectors, the value of this coin increases because of its rarity and the unique large date feature. This coin's increased value is partly attributed to the minting error related to the large date variety. Coins with irregularities or variations from the standard production process tend to be more valuable. Collectors have a particular interest in this coin because of its rarity, design, and the limited number that survived in good condition. The market is especially interested in coins with clean details and minimal wear, which can drive up prices significantly at auctions. Next up, the 1966 Canada 5 cents nickel is another key piece in the series of Canadian nickels. This particular coin is famous for its large date variety, similar to the 1970 nickel, which makes it a sought-after. The year 1966 marked the end of the production of nickels made primarily of nickel and the shift toward more affordable materials such as copper-nickel. The 1966 5-cent coin is notable for its role in this transitional period in Canadian coinage. The large date variety is quite rare for the 1966 nickel, making it a valuable find for collectors. While the mint typically produced coins with a small date that year, a batch of large-date nickels was accidentally produced, resulting in fewer examples of the large-date variety entering circulation. This mistake has contributed to the coin's desirability today. On the obverse of the 1966 Canada 5-cent nickel, we see the classic portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Arnold Machine, an image that adorned Canadian coinage for several decades. The reverse features the beaver, a symbol of Canada's fur trade, as well as the inscription Canada and the denomination of 5 cents. What sets the 1966 large date apart is the noticeable difference in the size of the digits. The numerals of the year are larger than those found on the small date version, making it an identifiable trait for collectors. The obverse design of the Queen's portrait is surrounded by the inscription Elizabeth IDG Regina, which translates to Elizabeth EI, by the grace of God, Queen. The reverse side's depiction of the beaver includes a distinctive log, which underscores the importance of the beaver to Canada's early economic development. The 1966 nickel, particularly in fine condition, is highly sought after by collectors. While the mintage of this coin was substantial, the rarity of the large date variety has pushed its value higher in the market. A 1966 large date nickel in fine condition can fetch upwards of $84,000 at auctions, depending on its preservation. A coin in very fine or extra fine condition may be worth even more, as collectors are always on the lookout for coins in the best possible condition. The primary collector interest in this coin revolves around its large date variety, a characteristic that makes it different from most other 1966 nickels. This minting error, though not rare by mistake standards, is still valuable because of the way the coin stands out from other examples in the same year. Additionally, this coin carries historical value, representing a transitional moment in Canadian minting practice. Collectors often seek out this variety for the uniqueness of the era and the role it plays in Canadian numismatic history. Next up, the 1980 Canada 5 cents nickel is a coin that stands out in Canadian numismatics. This coin is often part of a collector's set, but its value has grown over the years, especially for those that are in good condition or better. Before we get into its current value, let's take a step back and explore its historical context, the design features, the mintage, and the reasons behind its increasing collector interest. Canada's 5-cent coin has a long history, with design changes reflecting shifts in Canadian society, economy, and culture. The 1980s was a time of significant transition for Canada. The economy was evolving, and the country's currency system was going through gradual changes as well. The 1985-cent coin was minted in large numbers as part of Canada's regular coinage production, and this particular year was significant due to the introduction of a large date version. This change in the design has made the 1980 coin more sought after than its smaller date counterpart. In 1980, Canada was still in the midst of the economic boom that characterized much of the late 20th century. While inflation and oil crises affected global markets, Canada was seeing some growth, particularly in areas like manufacturing and tech. The 5-cent nickel from this era, however, has value primarily from the perspective of collectors who appreciate its design and rarity, particularly in good condition or better. The 1985-cent coin features the iconic Bluenose schooner design, which was originally created by artist Walter Ott in 1937. The image of the Bluenose schooner represents Canada's maritime heritage, famously associated with the schooner that was renowned for its speed and skill during the early 20th century. The reverse side of the 1985-cent coin depicts the ship in full sail, navigating the rough seas. The schooner is portrayed as a symbol of Canada's hard-working maritime industry and symbolizes the resilience of the country's economic infrastructure. On the obverse, the coin features the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, which had been used on Canadian coins since her ascension to the throne in 1952. The portrait was designed by artist Mary Gillick, and it remains one of the most recognizable images in Canadian coinage. The 1980 version has a slightly larger date than earlier coins, which is the key feature that collectors look for. The mintage of the 1980 Canada 5-cent nickel was significant, with millions of coins produced. However, it's the large date version that has drawn attention in recent years. The coin was initially minted in large numbers for circulation, but over time, its value has increased due to the rarity of well-preserved specimens. In good condition, the 1980 large-date 5-cent nickel is worth approximately $32,000. However, if the coin is in fine condition or extremely fine condition, its value can increase dramatically, sometimes reaching up to $37,000 depending on its demand in the market. Coins that are graded as mint state or proof could fetch significantly higher prices, reaching well above $50,000, especially at auction. There are certain error coins that have surfaced in the market, such as those with misstrikes or those with partial mint marks, which further add to the intrigue and value of the 1980 5-cent coin. Error coins are always highly sought after, as they offer a unique insight into the minting process and are seen as rare anomalies in an otherwise mass-produced coinage system. Collectors also value this coin for its historical context. Coins that are tied to a specific period or event are often prized for their narrative and connection to the past. The 1980 5-cent coin is often considered a part of the transitional period in Canadian coinage and is valued for its connection to Canadian history. Next up, the Canada 5 cents nickel series. We come to the 1985 large date. This coin, much like the 1980 issue, holds a unique place in Canadian numismatics. The year 1985 was an interesting one for Canada, as it was the middle of the 1980s, a decade marked by international changes and challenges. Let's dive deeper into its history, design features, mintage, and market value. By 1985, Canada had undergone substantial shifts since the early 1980s. The country was moving forward in terms of modernization, particularly in its economic and technological sectors. The 5-cent coin from this year carries with it the echoes of these changes. The coin's minting reflected Canada's commitment to maintaining a stable currency while modernizing its designs. The 1985 Canada 5-cent nickel was minted during a period of increased demand for coins due to Canada's growing economy and population. By this time, coin collectors had begun to recognize the increasing value of coins in circulation, especially those that deviated slightly from the standard designs of the design of the 1985 large date nickel was essentially unchanged from earlier issues. The reverse still prominently featured the blue-nose schooner, while the obverse displayed the Queen's portrait. However, it's the larger date on the 1985 coin that distinguishes it from its predecessors, making it an attractive piece for collectors. The overall design has remained consistent with the classic imagery that represents Canada's national identity. The schooner, a symbol of the country's maritime history, and Queen Elizabeth II, a constant figure on Canadian coinage since the mid-20th century. Like the 1985 cent nickel, the mintage of the 1985 version was significant, with millions of coins struck for circulation. However, it is the condition of the coin that ultimately determines its value. A coin in fine condition can fetch prices ranging from $28,400 depending on the rarity of specific mint marks, slight variations in the strike, and demand. As with other Canadian coins of this era, the market value tends to fluctuate based on auction trends and the ongoing interest of collectors. When sold through specialty auctions or rare coin dealers, high-grade specimens of the 1985 large-date nickel have been known to sell for upwards of $30,000. As with many other coins from this period, there are collectors interested in errors. Some 1985 coins have been noted with off-center strikes, slight die cracks, or misaligned mint marks. These errors can increase a coin's value, particularly among those looking for rare and unique pieces. Additionally, collectors of Canadian coinage often seek these coins because of their ties to the country's cultural heritage. With the historical design of the blue nose on the reverse and the Queen's effigy on the obverse, these coins represent more than just currency. They are pieces of Canadian pride and history. Next up, the 1989 Canadian 5-cent nickel stands out in the coin collecting world, not just because of its age or material, but because of the unique characteristics that make it rare in certain conditions, especially with the large date. This coin, which is part of Canada's iconic nickel series, was minted in large quantities, but the large date version has piqued the interest of collectors. The 1989 Canadian 5-cent coin was produced during a period where Canada's coinage saw little dramatic change in terms of design or composition. The coin was minted in nickel, which was standard for the 5-cent piece. In total, there were millions of these coins produced, yet the large date variety has become incredibly rare in good condition. The coin was minted in the Royal Canadian Mint, one of the most trusted and respected mints globally. Canada's minting process during this period involved the use of high-quality metal and an emphasis on durability, which means these coins are often found in good condition, but it's the finer details that elevate their market value. The 1989 5-cent coin carries the familiar design of Canada's iconic blue-and-nose schooner, which has been featured on Canadian nickels since 1937. The blue-and-nose schooner was a fishing and racing ship that became a symbol of Canadian pride and nautical heritage. This design is featured on the reverse of the coin. On the obverse, the coin features the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, which has been on Canadian coins for decades. The 1989 version features the portrait by Dora de Pedry Hunt, a well-known Canadian sculptor who created the image of the Queen that has appeared on Canadian coins since 1990. Market value. While the 1989 5-cent nickel is not one of the most valuable Canadian coins when found in ordinary circulation, a well-preserved coin, especially one that exhibits the large date feature, can fetch significant price. Coins in good condition, with minimal wear or discoloration, are especially sought after by collectors and numismatists. In today's market, a 1989 Canadian 5-cent nickel in good condition can fetch upwards of $9,000, depending on the exact state of the coin and where it's sold. If the coin is part of a mint-sealed roll or exhibits extraordinary features, like being well struck and with no noticeable flaws, it can increase in value, sometimes reaching higher amounts. The rarity of the large date version in good condition helps boost its value further. The 1989 5-cent nickel has also been found to have some error varieties, which is an exciting detail for many collectors. Some coins were mistakenly struck with improper pressure, leading to minor but noticeable differences in the design. Additionally, double strikes or misalignments have been reported for certain examples. Collectors are particularly interested in these error coins because they are limited in number and often carry premium values. If you happen to find a 1989 large date nickel with an error or a unique feature, it could potentially be worth significantly more, perhaps reaching $50 to $75 US or higher, depending on the nature and rarity of the appeal of this coin, especially in good condition, is undeniable. It's a combination of historical context, its intrinsic connection to Canadian identity, and the potential for finding rare variations that excite collectors worldwide. Next up, the 1974 Canada 5-cent nickel in extra fine condition is another gem in Canadian numismatics, although it's often overshadowed by other years and denominations. However, when you focus on the large date variety, this coin becomes far more intriguing and valuable, and for collectors seeking coins with fine details. The 1974 large date variety in extra fine condition is a must-have for their collection. The 1974 Canadian nickel, like other 5-cent pieces, was minted during a period when Canada's economy was recovering from inflationary pressures of the late 1960s and early 1970s. The coin itself was minted in large numbers, but its large date variety, though more pronounced on certain coins, has become highly collectible. The total mintage of the 1974 5-cent coin reached millions, and it was part of a period where Canada was transitioning in both its domestic policies and global positioning. The Mint, located in Ottawa, produced these coins as part of the regular currency flow during the mid-70s, and this widespread circulation contributed to their prevalence. Design features. Just like the 1989 version, the 1974 nickel showcases the iconic blue-and-nose schooner on the reverse which speaks to the enduring pride of Canada's maritime culture. The obverse features the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, this time sculpted by Arnold Machine, which has been a familiar face on Canadian coins for many decades. The 1974 variety stands out, not just because of its large date, but because of the precision involved in the minting process. The large date variety is the result of an increased size for the numerals, making it more prominent than in other years. Market value, while most 1974 5-cent coins don't carry a high value, those in extra fine condition, particularly with the large date variety, are incredibly sought. A coin in this condition would exhibit minimal wear, sharp features, and clear details, including the Bluenose schooner and Queen Elizabeth's portrait. In today's market, a 1974 Canada 5-cent nickel in extra fine condition typically carries a value of around $40,000. The large date variety significantly increases the value, and if you find one in pristine condition with no noticeable scratches or imperfections, you could see its value rise even further. As with other coins, the 1974 5-cent nickel has been the subject of certain minting errors. Some coins were struck off-center, while others exhibited doubling or incorrect metal composition. These errors are much rarer and are highly prized by collectors. The error varieties of the 1974 nickel, especially those found in extra fine condition, are valuable for collectors who seek out rare and unique pieces. A 1974 large date with an error can often fetch $48,000 or more depending on the severity and rarity of the error. With the historical significance of the Bluenose schooner and its enduring symbolism of Canada's heritage, along with the strong collector interest in error coins, the 1974 Canada 5-cent nickel remains a highly collectible piece. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave your comments below. And as always, keep hunting for those rare treasures.